Visit us for updates and shows at affinityextra.co.uk.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Xtra.
If you're part of the CCP, please don't kill me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Affinity Xtra. It's your host, MisterMarkGee, for the yet another episode of Ideologees. And I got my right-hand man, none other than Mr. Roger Moore. How are we doing?
I'm cool, man. I'm cool. I'm ready to go, man.
As you can see, we have a green background, and it's fitting for the episode today, being that the COP26 conference happened recently, and among many heads of states attending, among them being the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And so I thought maybe we can have a discussion and ideologically dissect issues pertaining to the climate change issue. And so before I go with my analysis, maybe I could give the opportunity for the big man here to articulate his views, and then I'll play devil's advocate, being neutral that I can, to, in a nice way, maybe, fight back, be a devil's advocate and argue against whatever case that he might put forward. And I think that, again, the aim of this show is to understand each other, understand different perspectives, including the perspectives that we disagree on. So, Roger, wrap on, talk about what's your perspective on the whole climate change thing, etc.
Okay, climate change, just checking out a couple of the articles there. What's climate change for me? Anybody who watches this station...
So let me ask them, is that a real thing? Is it something?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100% is a climate change. I've seen climate change from my own personal perspective. I've mentioned on the station a number of times when I see natural disasters. I do understand the fact that basically news is way better these days, so I appreciate that news didn't travel back in the day. So when you had things like Krakatoa, if anybody knows the history, that was a massive volcano, but you heard the eruption in London, it was heard. You know what I'm saying? It was that big, and I believe so. And so even from when I was young, I was always into nature and so on like that still. And I remember when Chernobyl happened when I was at school, and it was talking about a lot of things about acid rain and geography and so on, understanding ecosystems, understanding, what we're doing to the forest, the importance of what effect it does to the environment, seeing what the industrial age. As a child, you had fog at certain times of different things, and then now you don't have so much fog as they used to because there's not many. You're not pumping so much fumes in the air, so you can see there's climate change. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theorists now who's saying that, which I have seen China do a lot of in terms of firing certain rockets to create clouds. So there's artificial man-made weather as well that's getting involved now. But I do believe that there is climate change. I do feel that it is a kind of biblical situation as well, because we talk about it'll be fire next time, because see that being fire in terms of weather. But I do believe that there's climate change. I do believe the world's warming, and I do feel that there's more extreme weathers that are happening now. And I do feel that we don't talk about contribution in a Christian world like we should do. I believe that we should be caring for the earth a bit more than where we are. I think money over environment is a very self-centered perspective, and I feel that that's anti-God, anti-Christ, and anti this. He's been blessed you with something and you are just abusing it. Yeah. So I do believe resources are being blessed to us, but the abuse of the resource, the abuse of what the gifts that he's given us, the abuse of the food. America is one of the countries that waste a lot of food while people are lying hungry. People, grotesquely eat food in America. It just, there is enough food in this world right now. It's just greed. You know what I'm saying? So there is enough resources in this world. I do believe that where we can use solar power. I believe in wind power. I reckon it should be accessible. I wish I could just, afford to put solar power onto my house and utilize it. But again, does it make certain man's money or not? Relying on it. But, it's the way it goes. So for me, I am a greenist. I'm not saying I'm a perfect greenist. I try to do things, put my paper in the right ways, make sure do my little part.
Do recycling.
Recycling and do my little part where I can. Don't waste energy. You know what I'm saying? And also, it's what you eat and how much you eat and where you eat it from as well. You know, having a lot of fast foods, is that going to be really great for the environment? You know, there's so many little things you can look at, you know, in terms of, you know, environmentally friendly ways of, you know, growing foods. There is environmental friendly bananas and, you know, I mean, the way they cultivate it and so on like that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? And when they see the conference there, I can't stand it when, you know, I'm not saying these are Trumpies still, like a Trump kind of thing, but it's like
they're like drill, baby drill. So
yeah,
they're not really, they're not really with you with the whole climate change. They're more like drill, baby.
They 100% want to be looking resources, looking at how they can advance. I think we need to look at,
but okay,
methods and stuff. But that's just me. Okay. You know, I don't know. So when it comes to the, I am quite keen when I listen to what's going on when it looking at our environment, but I'm not sure quite keen when I believe I think it was I don't want to create it. I don't want to get it wrong, but I think the Prime Minister or someone leader from Azerbaijan turned around and said that, you know, resources are given to us by God, you know what I mean, and we can just use it how we feel to use it. Yeah, we don't have to restrict it. Well, some of the modern nations that have abused resources to get to where they go to, you got other countries trying to grow off. Okay, we want to follow you, but we're going to use this coal, we're going to use this oil a certain way, but it's been detrimental. Are you really going to do that, the detrimental of your things? And the people that get affected by it the most seems to be in countries that are not, that are developing world countries get affected the most. The small islands, the islands that my mom's from, St. Kitts, these small islands, these are the ones that get affected. The rising waters, you know, the mangroves in certain African countries, these things get affected by the rise of things. So like, yeah, people do kind of notice, you know. So I do watch a lot of programs about this. Monsoon weather, get hotter temperatures in India, you know. There's only so much we can just be ignorant about.
Right, so I think, and again, it's good that you shared your perspective, but I think today it's all about understanding every perspective.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll play devil's advocate and maybe challenge you. You said that, you know, you're a believer in God and you believe that we have been given this world to steward it and I think no one can agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, how can I go about this? I think on a spectrum, on direct opposite, you got those who are like, if we don't change the climate, the world will end. And then there's a climate denier, like, look, drill, baby, drill. And so there's a spectrum. So it's not black and white. There's a spectrum. I think there are many people who can be in the middle, maybe more, how can I say, they're more, they lean to an extent, but not to the extremes that I just mentioned. So let me ask you, just getting into your brains a bit. Do you believe that, say, someone would say, well, don't you think that the environmentalists are catastrophizing, are making a catastrophe out of a situation by saying that if we don't do something, the world will end, when we know biblically, eschatologically speaking, how the world will end? And also, can I add a caveat? You know, I was reading Genesis, I think a couple of weeks ago, and a scripture that stood out to me is, you know, after what happened with the Noahic flood, with the flood, God did promise that from that moment there will be summer and winter, sunshine and rain. So I believe that to be true. It's not now. But now, someone would argue, those who believe in that text, that I'm not saying this is my point, that to say that the world will end if we do not do a shift on our resources is saying that, well, God's word is not true then, that if we don't change, then the weather will, because God did promise us seasons that I will never again judge the world the way that I did. I can't quote it accurately word for word, but he said, as long as the world exists, there will be sunshine and rain. But what the environmentalists, who most of them are from atheistic perspectives, who do not have the Christian the Christian view on the end times, will say, well, they have the view that the world there's no end, and therefore if we don't do something, it's going to end. So with all those factors in mind, like where do you land? I'm just
Listen,
wanted to get your perspective.
That's 100% good point. And I think this is where I think again Christians become very. It's reflective on how we treat our bodies as well physically. We wonder to yourself why are Christians are so unhealthy, all of them. But there's a lot of unhealthy Christians physically because you know what I'm saying? No, definitely not. It's because they abuse the body because they're going to heaven. They can abuse the body in a way that I don't matter because I'm going to end up in heaven. But that's almost the mindset that you're having, knowing that I'm going to go to heaven with the earth. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to treat.
But are you of the view that if we carry on as we are, that we are going to end the world and not what the word says?
No. No. I appreciate what the word says, and I do agree with. Okay. I do
because a lot of this environmentalists, ideologically and theologically speaking, have an atheistic perspective where they do not have the Christian worldview in mind. And so that's one of the reasons why some people might maybe not be full on with that, because when you see no disrespect to Greta Thunberg saying it's going to be the end of the world if we don't do something, well, it's not. I mean, from a Christian perspective, we're a Christian radio show. We believe that God has dictated when. So you're not that extreme, right?
No, not extreme.
So that's one reason why. There's some part that I'm just giving you a perspective.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So let me give you another one.
Okay, cool.
And I think this is where Trump and Rishi Sunak and I think Kemi stand. Is that I think there are a lot of people open to diversifying how we use our resources, but in a way that is sustainable. Hear what I mean? If we go straight to green energy, Trump and people on the conservative, those who are not religious. So we talked about the religious mindset just now, about how with people who have a biblical worldview and people saying that we are going to end the world because of this issue, they're not going to rock with that because there's two opposing views. But I think to your credit, I would say that no matter where you are on the spectrum, our bodies, our world, we should take care of it. How we do it, obviously that's up to each and every individual, but I think a lot of common sense people would agree with that, right? We should take care of ourselves and take care of our environment. So I'm with that. And by the way, I'm not sharing my perspective. I'm just playing devil's advocate. So we've talked about it from a spiritual perspective, the backlash that it might be received for those who have different worldviews. I want to now segue to an economic. I want you to think economically.
Okay, cool.
Because I think a lot of people on the ideological left would like the shift to be quicker than it is now. But here's a concern: it's the economic impact.
Okay.
For example, losses of jobs. Yeah. And unemployment, like if unemployment goes to, if say for example we shut down all the manufacturing jobs, that's people losing jobs. Yeah. And we know that I'm sure you have seen, in the days of Thatcher.
Do you lose jobs? Do you actually lose jobs? Yeah.
No. Let me. So there's not just that. Yeah. Okay. So they'll say that they're going to ban all the cars that have emissions, but the dilemma is not everyone can afford a green energy car. Yeah. Now you might say, well, the government is going to force put a cap on the price or something. But then on the capitalist standpoint, they want as little government regulation as possible, because for them regulation is a big monster that affects their pockets. So from economic perspective, a lot of people are concerned about, look, I don't want to lose my job, and also of course. You want me to get a green car, you want me to get a solar panel. What if I can't afford it? And what the moderate conservatives would argue, let's do it in a way that is not revolutionary way, but kind of do it in a more evolving kind of way, like slow it down, not go too quick, because we don't want the backlash of people suffering as a result. This for the greater good thing, I think, to be honest, is something a lot of people are wary of. A similar situation is, as we discussed, check our previous episodes. Keir Starmer arguing, for example, a totally different topic, that for the sake of dealing with the black hole, unfortunately, a lot of the elderly are not going to get and he says, well, it's for the sake of the good of the economy. And so Likewise, I think, how do we deal with this in a situation where we have everyone on board? Or do we need to have certain part of our constituents suffer as a result where, okay, I'll lose my job, then what? And I can't afford a green card, then what? And I mean, what do you think about the economic impact, and how do we mitigate that whilst pursuing, say, for example, where you would like a more green friendly country and world?
I do think that you pull jobs one way and you got installation jobs, and it's called retraining. I've seen when manufacturing was a massive part of the local area economics, and when it changed, and people moaned about, I got to get a job in Asda, and you got skilled men doing packaging, stuff like that. Still, yeah, I do believe it's not as straightforward as that, but I feel that that wherever you lose jobs one area, you gain jobs in another area. I think that's just an argument which doesn't really make sense, because for me, if you're going to stop, but if you're going to stop the use, if you're to cut back on petrol and you're going to increase or coal mines or whatsoever, like power, you've got to install wind turbines. I know somebody who does that for a job. He does that, and he does all right for it, man. He goes away, he goes and does it. There's other jobs being raised up in that replacement. People talk about it a bit, but you have to realize over the development of manufacturing, jobs have been lost all the time because of introduction of robots, introduction of AI. You know what I'm saying?
In addition, jobs going to China, and this is
why is it going to China? What, in terms of
cheap labor?
Cheap labor.
Yeah, and also, and it is no surprise that these very people who are losing their jobs.
Yeah.
Guess who in the last election
Yeah.
appealed to them?
Who?
It was Trump. A contingent of this, because a lot of manufacturing jobs leaving our Western democracies, leaving devastating communities. I'm hearing that up north because of all the factories closing down, and that goes way back to the Thatcher days when with all the strikes and that. These are people who want to work. Now, you might take the conservative approach and say, look, get a grip, retrain and go get a job. However, the way I see it on the societal level is if you just do a big dump of everyone losing their jobs and say, hey, go look for something else, without some form of intervention to kind of help them transition to another job and just leaving them to their own devices, it might affect societally because, as we know, people have no jobs, no purpose, could lead to crime. So for me, my concern is also the good of the community. You know what I mean? Because
I know you're saying, but the thing is,
you want people. Let me finish. You want money in people's pockets, so that they can flourish in a community. But if you have lots of people who are not working, what kind of community is that? One that is subject to even the word says, Lord, don't give me too much, but don't give me too little that I start begging or start doing some madness.
But it's amazing how people care about people losing jobs now when it comes to climate changeover, yeah? But then same people are closing down companies because they're running off with the money and misspending off people's pension money and running off with the money in the background. So you got these rich dudes that go off and then spend off people's money in the background, and companies have collapsed because of that, yeah? And thousands of jobs have gone missing because of that, yeah? I'm saying part of the transition, because transition of industries does not happen overnight. It takes years. This is not
but the left want more radical, like let's close the mines now.
But the thing
let's
is,
close the mines now. Let's close the oil drills now. But the thing is, do it now. The time is now.
That's gaslighting. It's gaslighting because
Ed Miliband just closed. What did Ed Miliband close something that had quite a late effect? I think he closed something. I need to check it. Ed Miliband closed down something.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a evolvement of an evolved shift. It was a radical, okay, stop, that's it. But then if you do that, we need to think about the impact as, again, I think another, it's good to pick themes throughout the episodes. And guys, check out the episodes. Now, a lot of the Tory sides, and now they seem like the hypocrite now because they're on the hot seat now. Is when it comes to the other issue of winter fuel payment allowances, what the opposition parties demanded from the government is an impact assessment. And don't you think that that's also something that we also need to do as well, where in our transition in our bid to be maybe more green friendly, that we need to have an impact assessment in such a way to make sure that, you know, that the constituents, the electorate that voted for the government are not so negatively impacted, you know, for the quote unquote great and good. Like, how do we bring everyone alongside and try and do it in a way that is evolutionary rather than revolutionary, so to speak?
I hear what you're saying, bro. What I would say is that, you know, nothing is done overnight, and I think that I do feel that the rightists or the Trumps, always gaslight this type of thing. You cannot.
So you say they're not genuine about it?
So how can you? No, let's really think about it. Yeah, you produce, for example, say call it 1,000 kilowatts or whatever, of energy from coal. Yeah, you're from coal. Yeah, so you're gonna close down a mine and not have a plan to replace it, or have the turbines to replace the energy. That don't make no sense. You don't close a mine overnight and knee-jerk. Don't wait. That's what the media tells you. Nothing's done knee-jerk at that level. No way. You know what I'm saying? Because you cannot miss it, because we'll be having power shortages. If it was knee-jerk and there's a close down all fossil fuels one time, you cannot do it overnight. You've got to have the replacement in place to do that, whether it's nuclear, whether it's wind turbines in a certain area, whether it's solar panels, whether it's a plan to get everybody onto solar panel power and all this business. All this done. So this is my problem is that we always jump on and actually think when these guys, these charismatic, I'm not just Donald Trump, but these guys like Karen, you know what I mean, and the conservatives, they say that, we want to make money, want to keep up the fossil fuel movement, whatever. I appreciate and I understand what they're doing. But the thing is, if you studied fossil fuels, if you understand energy like fossil fuels and gas, they were always going to run out. So they was always going to run out when I was a teenager. So if you're telling me in geography class that these fossil fuels are going to run out, what is the plan? I told me when I was at school, 35 years ago. Yeah, they told me 35 years ago. Yeah,
that's showing your age.
I done myself over there when I was 13. Like I said, it was 35 years ago. They told me that fossil fuels will run out because this is how they're made. They will run out. So we have to push towards solar panel, wind turbines, and this. Have we done that intentionally? No, we've been lazy about it and bought from other nations.
So just to be clear,
whose fault is it?
Just to be clear, you're saying the people on the right who are sort of projecting a concern about how it might impact jobs is really just scaremongering.
I hear the joke now still, It is 100% scaremongering, but check this out, people, Spain, floods. We talk about extreme weathers. I did a video on it. Check my video out. I said, how on earth in 8 hours do you receive 1 year of rain? That's climate change. If you want to go use, keep on using your diesel engines. That's what happens when you keep on abusing fossil fuels and so on, and not going to cleaner energy. Things like you cannot, when you're there, unfortunately, cleaning up the mess, the cost of that mess. But that's a big cost on the economy and on lives. But yet you could have been doing something from 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
So you're looking at jobs, but I'm looking at the environmental cost that actually impacts the floods that are happening to small areas. I believe cities like Shrewsbury that are getting flooded on a yearly basis, where we poorly have built houses and cities on floodplains. That's all gone down to pot now. Because of the rising temperatures.
But I think what is necessary is.
Sorry, you can tell I'm into this.
So there'll be one more question I'll share, and then we'll wrap it up. I think to bring both sides of the table, there's one term for it, and that's sustainable development, where we're not just considering the environmental factors or the economic factors of both. That one is not considered over the other at the expense of the other.
Okay.
That yes, for example, I'm all for transitioning to more cleaner resources, but also making sure that it is a way that doesn't have a heavy economic hit. Because for me, like, losing a job. Just think about it. You spoke to Leah Jacobs about her losing a job.
Yeah.
And it's just psychologically, it's devastating.
Yeah.
And so, now imagine that on a grand scale where it's not just one person, but a community. There's such a thing as we were the mining community. That's how people describe themselves up north. And since the mines closed down, obviously it's a different topic. It wasn't green energy. That's how they describe themselves, because what they did was intrinsic to who they were as individuals and as a community. So I think these are two things that I think sustainable development is, not just looking at the economic impact, but also the environmental impact and how they can work both hand in hand and not at the expense of each other. Government, I've never been in government, by the way, but one thing that people in government say, there's this word called trade-offs. And, this is what Starmer did with the budget, that there will be trade-offs, that, for the sake of, say, schools, for the sake of, say, good public schools, I will tax those who want to take kids to private school. Now, those who are taking the kids to private school, we say, look, I've saved a lot of money for this. But then Starmer will say, and he even said it on Prime Minister's Question Time today, is I know that you care about your kids, but I care about those kids. And that's the end of that as far as his argument goes. But we'll move on. We'll move on from that.
But yeah, so
no.
But I hear what you're saying, and I definitely I do agree. There needs to you need to look towards sustainability. We have to look in our spaces,
both economic and environmental.
But for me, it isn't a Christian passion to be environmentally friendly, and we need to change that.
But Genesis 1, half dominion over the world, half dominion.
Bro, that's like saying...
I can show you the argument.
No,
half dominion.
Yeah,
dominion over the world.
Okay, woman, be quiet in the church. You know what I'm saying? All these people,
okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Furthermore, I'll even go further just to annoy you a bit. They will say half dominion over it. And those who say that those who go on about green energy is an idolatry of sorts. You're not starting to worship the earth too much, where it's like, earth this, earth that. Like, because they would say, I'm not saying that's my point. They would say, again, devil's advocate here is, the earth was made for man, not man for the earth. And those on those side of the table are elevating the earth than the inhabitants involved. So much so that there are even some who are radically saying, I think even Meghan Markle said, for the sake of climate change, I won't have more than 2 kids. Now, some would argue on a Christian basis that the Bible says, be fruitful and multiply. It doesn't say, climate change will happen. It's only then that you need to stop having. So do you see? So I'm intentionally annoying you, giving you the extreme perspective where, number one, Genesis number 1 says we're supposed to have dominion over the world. And number 2, this earth discourse kind of suggests an idolatry of the planet of sorts, and putting the planet over the people. The planet was made for us, not us for the planet. And they would say that people on your side are turning it the other way around. You're kind of turning it around where you're now worshiping the earth and taking care of the earth, and even having people lose jobs and lives if they have to, just for the sake of the earth. Oh earth, let us take care of thee, for we love thee.
It's being stereotypical now, isn't it? But I want you to deal with that. Deal with that one. I will deal with that. All right, still. Yeah. For a starter, this mentality, this dominion mentality.
No, but that's the word though.
No.
Have dominion over the earth.
Yeah, have dominion over. That's what they use when they conquered the earth. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
but the thing is, there's been gross misinterpretations. There's dominion and there's abuse. Yeah,
okay.
And I believe that as leaders, a Christian leadership has not taken the leadership of Christ and looked at the servitude element of it. And for me, we all have this dominion.
Have you mentioned, Jesus never mentioned about anything about the environment in the Gospels?
No, but the thing is...
Jesus never mentioned it. Nor do they mention it in the epistles.
But the thing is, it's abuse of power.
Okay.
Aren't we here to take care of the earth? Or are we all here to abuse it?
Yeah, we're stewards, but not to the point of idolatry, they'd say.
But is idolatry taking... listen, when you look at agriculture leaves the land to rest so it can come back stronger. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So there's
there was even a jubilee for the land, a rest for the land, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But I think that was... I don't know the reason why
Christianity has been infiltrated by, you can almost say capitalism, by greed. You know what I'm saying? It has, because if Christianity, which comes from the foundation of Judaism, yeah, if we actually applied 75 Jubilee, you know what I'm saying? A, slaves will be free. B, there will be no African debt. You know what I'm saying? Because we have to keep releasing people there. If it's so-called Christian, you know what I'm saying? So you want to bring Bible? I'll bring Bible to you then.
Let's not that. Okay, third point. Third and final point. So this COP conference was this COP. Let's finish with the last point.
Go.
And it's a big point. The COP conference happened.
Yeah.
It seemed to be a very important thing that a lot of head of states went to come together and discuss the issue. But here's another concern.
Go on.
That in this conversation, it is very difficult to put a certain, if you're part of the CCP, please don't kill me, but we're not having China in the table, and they're big polluters. This is what the Americans are saying. The little man in no. This is what the little man in America is saying. You are bullying us and telling us to commit to our pledges. And UK, now they're in labor to say, oh yeah, we're going to pledge. We're pledging to honor us. But we're not telling China to have to play their fair share. It sounds like the world is bullying the people who are easily accessible. But you think people are coming from Beijing to that? You think someone from Beijing or even India will come to that and sit down with you guys? And if they are the more significant sources of CO2 emissions, if we play all our part and yet they are the biggest contributors, then what are we doing? Are we just, what's the word?
Trend setting, that's what you're doing. You're setting a positive trend.
Yeah, for who? But China's not going to follow suit. They're all about they're all about power. They're all about advancing the economic interests. They have they do not care about this COP stuff.
When they're having natural disasters, they're struggling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're having a lot of natural disasters.
But would you agree that a lot on the left in the West, they would go outside the White House and protest? But I wouldn't see them picking up the plane and trying to protest in China. No, I would argue that they would be too cowardly to do that. They just do that in a place where there's freedom, free press and all that kind of stuff. Because
China's not on the table and because China's not...
But they're the biggest contributors. China and India are the biggest contributors. What are they doing?
Okay, bro, listen. What I would say...
what are they doing? They're the biggest ones.
So what you're saying is everybody carry on doing what you're doing and it will be erupt. If some of you start to change, the rest will follow, and when you do it in such a way,
China will never follow. As long as the Chinese Communist Party is in power, they will never follow. They're all about the advancement of their own interests. I think they even want to be the number one superpower if they could. They could turn the world into a communist planet and then running it in Beijing. Trust me, if they could. It's just that the West.
You're watching too much films.
China's about that life, bro. Don't stop. China's about that life.
What life's that?
To dominate the world. They want world domination if they could.
So what's USA been doing for the whole long time? What was the so-called democracy? What was the Cold War all about? What was the Cold War all about? America, what was Vietnam all about?
Let's not digress. But I think it's worth noting to say that there are a lot of contributors to this issue that are not on the table.
They're not on the table,
That's a valid point.
No, is it valid? It's a point, yeah. Whether it's valid, I don't know. But basically, when you're having wars and having tanks spewing loads of fumes up in the air, you know what I mean, you for oil, you know what I mean, you're mashing up the environment to mash up the environment's sake, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, it's where it goes. But for me, I believe that there's not enough in Christian culture to really do enough for environment. We don't talk about it.
Let me press you one more time. Okay, so
even the basics.
No, I want to press you on one more question. One more question, guys. Okay, so we're all on board, President Roger, that we're going to do this. How quick are we going to do it? How quick? Are we going to make us lose jobs and just full throttle?
It's just going to be transition.
How quick?
I would say 5 to 10 years. I mean, it could be 5 to 10 years transition for me. Yeah, I don't know how extreme I would take it, but the thing is, I would want to go if I can't remember the stats anyway, but if 90% consumption is fossil fuels, I would want to move that to under 50% over the next 5 to 10 years, 100%.
Guys, there you are, Roger Moore for Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Affinity Xtra. You're watching Ideologees. I hope you're enjoying. If you are, listen, if you aren't subscribing, please like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Affinity Xtra. You're watching Ideologees. I hope you're enjoying. If you are, listen, if you aren't subscribing, please like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Peace.
Thank you for watching the content we're putting out. Listen, make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and following us on all our social channels, including patreon.com. Make sure you're finding us on there to support what we do so we can support you. And remember, guys, be extra.